Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News, January 7th, 2018. Hope everybody is staying warm out there and safe and sound. Bitter cold temperatures still erupting here in the United States. And also very hot temperatures in Australia. I put up a few articles on the Planet X News website and also the Planet X News Facebook page. News teams throughout different parts of Australia are reporting literally roads melting and temperatures today that were over 112, 113, 114. I think the highest temperature recorded was 116.8 degrees. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know the climate chaos is once again taking hold of our planet, and we'll get into more of that later on in the afternoon on Sunday. I wanted to show you a few things, and I wanted to talk to you about a few things, some emails that I've been getting and a lot of questions. But first of all, you're looking at the LASCO SOHO C3 coronagraph, and this is a satellite with camera systems on it, pretty sophisticated. It views the sun from a distance. It's mainly to view coronal mass ejections, things of that nature. The black disk that you see in the center, that is called the occulter. That kind of blocks out the rays of the sun so they can see the coronal mass ejections. The small white circle in the middle, that represents the sun, the size of the sun. So, what we're looking at here, this starts out in the beginning of the year, January 1st, and what we're looking at is Venus. And Venus is transiting, it's in its orbit, going back behind the sun, kind of from our view. Now, in 2016 and going into 2017, people around the world were amazed at how bright and how close Jupiter was in the sky. People were videotaping it and photographing it every single night. My emails were flooded with the photographs, which were pretty spectacular. But people were starting to wonder why Venus was so bright, why it was so bright. They don't remember ever in their lives ever seeing something like this, and a lot of unexplained questions. So anyways, what we're looking at here started off in January 1st, and we're watching Venus go back behind the sun. Now, you're going to see this very strange, I'll leave my cursor right there. It's almost like an impression, this darker blue impression as Venus goes by and into back behind this occulter. Now, it's already been theorized or stated that the intense energy from Venus, from the light, from the projected light from Venus, interacting with the sun in its orbit, has now burned this impression into the lensing system of this coronagraph. This highly sophisticated, super expensive space satellite with sophisticated cameras on it, and it's been out there in space for many years. And it has probably taken this shot before at some point in time. So why now, all of a sudden, does this image get burned into the lensing system of this C3 camera? And supposedly, it's been stated that it is permanently damaged now. I find that kind of odd. I find it very suspicious. But listen, I'm not a NASA engineer. I didn't work on the construction of this space satellite, this spacecraft. So is it possible? It may possibly be, ladies and gentlemen, but why all of a sudden, after all of this time, does this image get burned and damaged the lens on the C3? I don't know. They say it's going to permanently be here on this this image now. We're going to take a closer look at it, so just give me a second. I'm going to zoom in here. So now this is supposed to be permanently burned in there. Let's take a closer look at it. You can see as it passes into and back behind the occulter, the black disk, the dark disk. Now we see this impression. Now they're saying that's permanently going to be there, that blemish. It's interesting. You know, I just find it very interesting. I find it very odd. Yeah, I've never heard of this before. They said that they're NASA's trying to figure something out to fix this problem. Well, I don't know how they're going to fix that problem. I mean, how can you fix a lens that was, basically, it's almost like they tell you don't ever look at someone that's welding, with a welding lead. Don't look at that little bright light. And it's almost kind of like what happened here. It's like this overexposure, and supposedly the energy from Venus somehow burned this image now into the lensing system of this super highly sophisticated space camera, the C3. Listen, folks, you could all go to the website. I'm going to back out of here for a second. You guys can all go to the website. Later on after this video, I'll post some of the still photographs, and I'll give you the direct link. And if you want to go ahead and check this out yourself, it's also good to investigate yourself also. Start taking a look at some of these space satellites. If you have the time, you could start doing your own investigations. You never know when you're going to find, an anomaly or something. And this is what I do. I mean, I spend many hours researching through all of this data on a daily basis. But, I also have 5 computers that are running 24 hours a day and, screen capturing and recording all of this information. And, it gives me the opportunity to go back through it at later times and check things out. But this was something I wanted to show you. I find it very odd that Venus has now damaged the camera systems on the C3 coronagraph. Very interesting. Something else I want to cover with all of you real quick. I get a lot of questions based on me referencing that our biggest fears should come from the sun and really not Planet X itself, or this massive object that is out there. And I've been talking to and collaborating with another physicist, another solar scientist. She has absolutely impeccable credentials, and we've been talking to her quite a bit about the sun, what's happening out there, because she has a pretty popular website. She has a pretty popular YouTube channel, and she has a pretty impeccable background academically and her career. And once a week she does a video pertaining to what is happening on the sun. It's about 10 to 15 minutes long, and it goes into complete detail. I've sent her a lot of the images and a lot of the information that we have obtained over the past year, and it pretty much blew her away. And she's also gone on to read a lot of the papers and reports that Dr. Albers has written. And some of her responses that have come back based on these photographs that we've captured. Well, yeah, she's pretty overwhelmed. She did ask one thing of both of us, and that was, not to mention her name or, bring her name into our research, because she stated very clearly, she said, listen, I get trolled enough on my website and on YouTube. She said, a subject matter that you investigate, she said, I don't think that I could take that type of, additional trolling from these idiots on YouTube. But anyways, we went through a lot of information pertaining to these coronal holes on the sun. We're expecting this solar minimum where the sun supposedly kind of goes to sleep, they say. Minimal solar activity. And, you know, we're getting very close to that. Some scientists are saying that we've entered this solar minimum a year and a half early, or we've already been in it for a year and a half. And there's a lot of debate that goes back and forth with the solar minimum and dates and things of that nature and the data. But there's plenty of data out there that does suggest that this 11-year cycle does exist. And we're heading into 2018. You know, seismologists from the USGS have stated that 2018 is going to be a pretty rough year with earthquakes. Well, I've never heard of them doing that before. So what do they know that we don't know? Well, folks, they're probably collaborating and monitoring a lot of information coming from the sun. These coronal holes, and I'm going to go ahead and just blow this this SDO image, and this is all current. And, you know, what we're looking at here is the 211 angstroms of ultraviolet light. And this basically kind of digs down a little bit almost to what we would call the inner atmosphere of the sun. This real dark region right here. The outer region right here, real bright, referred to as the corona. Whenever you see these openings, like what you have here, this big dark area, even this small one, which is now Earth facing, another one opening up here, another one here on the bottom of the sun, and you can see the dissipation as it gets darker, kind of like, looks like it's bubbling. Well, how I can explain this to you is, well, let's just say, for instance, you know, it's a cloudy day, pretty overcast, and then all of a sudden the clouds start to open up and you start to see blue sky. So we've all seen that situation before. Well, that's kind of what happens when these coronal holes open up. The coronal cover, as we'll just call it, starts to open, starts to dissipate, starts to disappear. That allows all of the solar wind energy, as they call it, the solar wind, that allows all of these very, very heavily charged particles that literally stream from the sun at hundreds of thousands of miles per hour, sometimes well over 1 million and 1.5 million miles per hour. Those streams of these heavily charged particles impact Earth. They penetrate very, very deep, all the way to the core of our planet, therefore heating our planet up from the inside out. That internal buildup of pressure is one of the main causes for the increase in earthquake activity over the last several years. There will be some scientists that debate that, but there are plenty of abstracts and published papers out there talking about the solar wind and how it impacts the Earth and how it creates earthquakes. So we can see this situation each and every single day by monitoring the Solar Dynamics Observatory. And this is a direct view of what we see from Earth. So this is an Earth view of the sun. Even a small coronal hole, such as you see right here, and Earth is just slightly below the center of the sun. So, you know, we're about, say, right here where my cursor is. This coronal hole is kind of small, but we've just passed through all of this. This will probably not affect us. And whenever I was talking to the other doctor and we were going back and forth with a few emails and talking about these coronal holes and the solar wind streams, she said one of her professors explained it one day in one of their classes, and he said this is how the solar stream would actually look like. You just take a sip of water, take a regular drinking straw, and blow the water straight through the straw and envision in slow motion what comes out of the other end. You're going to see this very large spray of the water coming out of the end of the straw. Well, that's kind of how you can depict these solar winds. You actually can't see them because they're particles, heavily charged particles, coming from these holes in the sun, holes in the sun's atmosphere. They have the ability to travel millions and millions and millions of miles. They reach the Earth, which is approximately 93 million miles away from the sun. So whenever we have this occurrence, constantly, the Earth is being bombarded by the solar winds. It's really nothing new as far as solar physics, solar science, but the frequency and the amount and the size of these coronal holes has steadily increased since 2015. 2016 was a trying year. This past year of 2017 was also a very trying year with the sun. We had one of the most powerful X flares that was just absolutely amazing to see, but Earth dodged a bullet that day because that big gigantic X flare was right over here, away from the Earth. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I mean when I say we shouldn't fear Planet X itself, but we should fear its interaction with our sun. You know, our sun has the ability to take us out, take out an entire species. An Earth-facing X flare, an Earth-facing massive coronal mass ejection, a gamma burst. There are numerous situations that we could be in with our own interaction with our sun. With Planet X interacting with our sun, Dr. Albers and I both agree, and she's written many papers on this, that these interactions with the sun can possibly set up more and more dangers with the Earth. Because we see the increase in the earthquakes and the volcanoes. We're seeing very, very, very strange anomalies occurring around the world. Specifically now, once again, with our weather. And like I said, we'll do a whole nother live stream, you know, based on weather and what's coming up, what we can possibly forecast and look out for. And there's probably going to be quite a bit of that in the upcoming months. But so all of you have an understanding about what I mean when we should fear the sun more than we should fear Planet X. There are some issues with the magnetic fields of Planet X interacting with the magnetic fields of our planet. That's definitely occurring, ladies and gentlemen. We are already seeing signs of a global tilt and a very severe Earth wobble. We're probably going to see many, many more strange things happening on our planet, dealing with very, very severe weather. This is probably going to be something that we're going to have to live with and adapt to. Moving into this grand solar minimum, or this solar minimum, now has the ability to, in all actuality, make things even worse. But that's only to see in the near future. See, this is a main reason why I keep my eye on the sun, is because not only are we able to make captures, photographs, capture Planet X within one of these coronal mass ejections. And I'll just go ahead and bring this up. And we were able to capture this photograph. Oh, this was back in, I believe this was July of 2017. Massive coronal mass ejection. I mean, you can see it. This was absolutely intense. But we were able to capture in a few frames this massive object as the coronal mass ejection just basically lit this object up. It gave us the point of view to actually see it. So we were able to make many, many captures like this throughout all of 2017. There will probably be more to come. But when you see photographs like this, and this came from the C2 coronagraph, from the Soho craft. I mean, it's clear as day. You know, like I've said before, folks, I mean, what do you think? Do you think this just gets, painted into the picture? A massive spherical object completely perfectly outlined like a sphere would be. Do you think it just appears there? Nah. No, it just does not. So this photograph was captured by me, and Dr. Albers did several reports on this capture. We put it into a couple of different filters to see more definition. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be living in some very, very strange times. They're going to be coming up. Each and every day will probably pose something very new and very interesting. But I want to go ahead and I want to share something with you once again. And this is well, before I go to the Planet X News website, you could go to the SDO, Solar Dynamics Observatory, and you could check out the 48-hour loops of the sun. We see a lot of activity, ladies and gentlemen. There's a few folks out there that will say that, the sun's been very quiet. We beg to differ. There's a lot going on our sun. And yes, we have to pay attention to it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No doubt about that. But listen, folks, there's a lot of new articles each and every single day on the Planet X News website. When I post the articles on the Planet X News Facebook page, hey, listen, make sure you click on them and read them and check them out, because I just don't post a bunch of garbage up there. They're all relevant to our subject matters, what we investigate, what we're looking into, and what I feel that I should share with you guys. Very interesting article about Facebook, the Facebook app. Once again, coming out in the media about how it's able to activate the microphone on your cell phone and listen to you talk and then target you for advertising. I did a few tests on this a while back talking about cat food, and I don't own a cat. And sure enough, within 1 hour, cat food ads were showing up on my Facebook page. Interesting. But there's a lot of articles that are going to be popping up here. A few articles I dropped already for today on the Planet X News website pertaining to what is happening in Australia. Oh, goodness. The roads literally melting. Fires breaking out. Very, very hot temperatures. Like I said, I think they recorded a temperature of 116.8 degrees. 116. Yeah, that's pretty intense. There's also a situation brewing out in Yakima, Washington. And that's involving this massive, massive fissure that is cracking off the entire side of Rattlesnake Mountain or Rattlesnake Ridge, or whatever you want to call it. I was looking at it on Google Earth. Pretty high elevations. This crack in some places is over 250 feet deep. And there's a video here where I think this guy flew a drone over the area. There is a population right below this mountainside. You can see how deep. And this is just not, you know, just like a small little landslide, folks. You're going to probably see the whole entire side of this mountain come down. They were estimating over 1 million cubic yards. 1 million cubic yards. So they've evacuated people down below. There's communities that live, people down below there. If you watch that video, you're going to be pretty amazed at the amount of earth that is eventually going to crack right off of here. And they said it's not a matter of when. It is going to happen, and happen very soon. Something that's kind of alarming is where this area is in Washington, Yakima. It's kind of a big flat area right back here. And that's where the population of Yakima is. Pretty big city. But right out in the outskirts is a town called Union Gap. And people live below this mountain. And if this comes down, you know, their houses are wiped out. And there's no telling when this is going to occur. But 50 miles to the west, you have earthquakes rocking western Washington. 50 miles to the east, you have earthquakes rocking the state of Washington. And what is right in the middle? Rattlesnake Ridge Mountain. So sooner or later, one of these earthquakes is going to rumble this area, and this whole side of this hill is going to come down. And, you know, we're not only seeing landslides occurring like this in the United States, they are rampant in South America, folks. Rampant. Now, we just saw yesterday what is the equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane set up. Tropical Cyclone Ava sets up right outside of the island of Madagascar, right off the coast of South Africa. Very interesting story. Once again, more new information coming out. A dormant volcano awakens for the first time in known history in Papua New Guinea. Very interesting. So now we add one more volcano to the list of the erupting volcanoes, and I think there's over 30. And now a volcano in Papua New Guinea comes alive for the first time in history. Like I mentioned the other day, ladies and gentlemen, it is truly very, very interesting to be alive in this day and time. You're probably going to see and experience things like you've never seen or experienced before. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, our website, and also make sure that you are following us either on Twitter or Facebook or both. Keep yourself informed and up to date, minute by minute. On our website, You can access our YouTube channels for Planet X News, Dr. Albers' channel, and our other channel, Planet X News Research. Our main two channels, right here. Click on the link, bookmark the website, follow us on Facebook, and you will never, ever be out of the loop. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with me here today. And we're going to have more updates later on this afternoon. We'll be doing a live stream with Dr. Albers and going over a few reports that she has just put together. Stay safe out there, folks. Better yet, stay warm. This is Scott from Planet X News. Thank you for watching.